Thank you so much for joining me once again on our instrumental variables approach using cross-sectional data. My name is Ngozi Adeleye, founder CrunchEconometrix, and I will be using the IV technique in this video. Recall that we are still using the Wooldridge Returns to Education MROZ data. I have provided the link to the data and the Stata do file in this video description. Now recall the simple regression model, log of wage as a function of education. Now we have assumed that educ is endogenous, which implies that the variable is correlated with the error term, such that the covariance between educ and the error term is not equal to 0. In that case, we need to find an instrument that is correlated with educ, which is the endogenous regressor, but not correlated with the error term, such that the covariance between the instrument and the error term is equal to 0. Now, this is the equation that we have specified that the covariance between the instrument and the error term is 0. If we rearrange equation 1 into the space and we solve, we are going to end up with the covariance zy minus beta 1 covariance z educ, okay? Just juggle up this arithmetic and you are going to end up with this. From that equation I showed in the previous slide, we can easily solve for the beta 1 so that we can get the IV estimator to be this equation. Like I said, this is just a simple statistics. Derived coefficient from this formula will be unbiased and consistent, talking about the IV beta. Now, note that the beta 1 from the IV estimates and the beta 1 from the OLS estimates will be identical if X, that is educ, is assumed to be exogenous, such that X, education, and the instrument Z, further educ, which is a regressor, will serve as its own instrument. But if that is not the case, the OLS estimate will be discarded. So having said all that, let us go to Stata to estimate the IV approach. So we have the IV code here. As you can see, I'm using IV reg, Stata IV reg, log of wage, dependent variable. You can see right here, education equals further educ. Further educ is the instrument and educ is the endogenous regressor. I'm correcting for heteroscedasticity, so I'm using robust standard errors. The second line of the code is for Stata to store the IV results, and the third line of the code is for Stata to display the beta coefficient. So I'm going to highlight all three together and execute. So you can see on the screen the results for the IV estimate. Stata has stored the result for me, and this is the displayed coefficient, exactly what is in the table. So let's go to PowerPoint. So from the PowerPoint results, we can see that the coefficient, though it is positive, it is not significant statistically. The p-value is 0.111, and the t-statistic at 1.60 clearly shows, though the coefficient is positive, it is not significant statistically. So how are you going to interpret this? It implies that another year of education has zero effect on wages. If you look at the below table, there are some information below the table. Instrumented is educ, so educ is the endogenous variable, while the instrument is further educ. So Stata has provided you with that information. These are some of the things we can note from the IV results and the OLS results in my previous video. If you compare, you will observe that the IV coefficient is lower at 0.059, lower than the OLS coefficient of 0.109. Number two, you will observe that the IV coefficient is statistically not significant. Number three, both estimates are significantly different from one another, which may imply that indeed education is endogenous. Number four, you will observe also that the standard error from the IV estimate is higher than that of the OLS, 0.037 higher than 0.013. Lastly, the R squared from the IV is also very low, which expands the standard error and lowers the t-statistic, resulting in a statistically insignificant IV estimate. For further readings, I have 5 textbooks listed here. There are also several textbooks that you can deploy for you to extensively engage the understanding about IV analysis. I have papers where I've used IV technique, IV two-stage least squares, IV GMM. You can reach out to me on ResearchGate. These papers are all there so that you can get access to them. Thank you so much for watching. So this video concludes using the IV technique on a cross-sectional data using a bivariate model. Don't go away, stay with me. In my next video, I will be using the two-stage least squares to correct for endogeneity.